8:30.
Welcome back. As the federal government shutdown drags on, tax administration and IRS operations are hitting pause, delaying refunds, freezing credits, sidelining contractors, and those ripples are already being felt across Louisiana's economy. Now, here to explain and break down what this means for our state is LSU Law Professor Del Wright. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning.
So first off, what is a government shutdown for those who don't understand the complexities? Just break it down for us in simplest terms.
In simplest terms, the government stops funding a lot of the things that aren't essential to operation of the U.S. government.
Now, what's happening currently with our government shutdown? Why are we entering in a shutdown, rather?
The biggest political issue is about Medicare funding and about spending priorities, because the Democrats have basically said, we've approved certain funding, and the president has said, I'm not going to actually fund those things. And because of that disagreement, the two sides have said, no, we need some better agreement on that. So those are the big issues: medical funding and spending priorities.
Now, of course, people want to know, how is this going to impact me? So how is it going to impact the people of Louisiana?
It impacts it in quite a few ways. There are roughly $170 billion of federal grants that come to Louisiana. A lot of that is not going to be affected because it's a block grant and it's already done. But anything that's discretionary, i.e. you need a federal contractor or federal government employee to say, oh yeah, proceed, or maybe we shouldn't proceed, you have to do X, Y, and Z, those things aren't going to go forward because many of those employees are going to be furloughed.
Gotcha. So in what areas in Baton Rouge will we see the most impact, per se?
It's hard to say, but I would say things like bridges, clean water, clean air, roads, healthcare. Those are the things that are going to be hit first.
Now, when we talk about the government shutdown, how long, we don't really know right now. We don't have a specific time frame. We know there's supposed to be a vote in the Senate today, but if this goes long term, per se, or beyond this week, what does that shutdown look like for us, and how long can a state withstand that?
Well, I think the states can withstand it quite a long time. But what it means for everyday citizens is all the things that kind of we rely on to be able to function efficiently, some of those things are going to slow down. For example, TSA workers, even though they aren't furloughed, they have to keep showing up. But for many of them, the opportunity, and this happened in the last shutdown, after a few weeks, they started calling in sick and doing other jobs because they had to put food on the table. And so there will be fewer TSA workers, which means it's going to be longer lines at the airport. And that kind of thing is going to happen across society, and it's really going to hit people who travel, people who need to go from point A to point B, people who need any kind of government service, like the Social Security office. If they're furloughed, their Social Security is still going to work. They're still going to send out the checks. But if someone needs help, there might not be anybody there. Those are the kinds of things that will happen with this shutdown.
Now, when we talk about tax and IRS operations, how does that impact refunds and credits from that standpoint?
Well, the IRS is already very severely underfunded, and for those of the older readers, older watchers, they'll understand they're still using a computer software called COBOL, and COBOL was in the 80s and 90s. And so when those systems need help and people to do things, they just won't be there. And so refunds are absolutely going to be delayed if this thing goes out until the first of the year.
Now, for those families at home who are still wondering, I guess are a little bit nervous about it, uncertainty is the big thing that's happening in our society right now. What message do you have for just the American people?
As much as possible, save as much as you can, because we really don't know how long this will last, and you have to protect your family because that's really important. So maybe delay some discretionary spending and put more money in savings, because one of the secondary effects is, even though the government workers will be repaid, any contractors for the federal government may not get their money back, which means they might be out of work for quite a long time.
Great perspective, great information here. Thank you, Professor Del Wright, for joining me this morning. And of course, if you missed this interview, we'll have a breakdown on our website, LouisianaFirstNews.com. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break.